Well, good morning.
Well, good afternoon.
Well, it is 8 o'clock, but it is 10 o'clock for some other people.
There's certain time zones that we're crossing right now, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we just
Let's just jump right into it.
let's get into it.
How's my mic? It feels like I'm talking really loud.
It's really it's tough to really tell with that intro music.
Right.
It's always tough. So
Good.
don't judge your voice now. Judge it now.
Judge it at 10 o'clock when I'm watching this. After
Yeah.
this going, why didn't you tell me I was so loud on the mic? Okay, let's not keep our esteemed guest waiting. We're very excited again to have Dr. Paresh Shah on the show. Not his first time on the show. Hopefully not his last. Especially
Well,
after
I don't
today.
know.
Hopefully it's not your last. We don't do early mornings well here at Dentist on Demand, so we're gonna work through it. Dr. Paresh Shah is a machine, so he can do this at any time of the day, I would assume. How are you, Paresh?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We were just saying you're in behind the frosted glass there. It's not he's closer to the actual good frosted glass.
With the door handle right over my shoulder.
You're a few hours away from the good handle. This is the handle you want.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a handle, but I've got this.
Oh, there you go.
Here's
That
a famous
works.
plug for our friends at Curion.
Very nice.
It's a coffee mug.
Yeah. Those are great. That's a Yeti, right? So that's a high class mug.
No, I think this is different. This is I don't know.
Oh, that's a Yeti. These guys are.
Oh yeah, look at the lid. I can tell by the lid.
fancy.
Usually they keep the Yeti logoing on there though. A little.
Yeah, so it's different. This is mirror.
Oh,
Okay, gotcha.
They need some competition. Those Yetis. Maybe they'll come down in price a little
That's right.
bit.
Yeah. So thanks for being on the show again with us, Paresh. We're super pumped. You have a book out.
I do.
We want to talk about your book today.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put it right in front of us.
There it is.
I do. Oh, you do, and I have one right here.
Do you have
There
your
you
voice? Do you have a voice changer that we can announce that book?
I do. It's not set up though. Yeah.
So we have to use our own voices. Beyond the Single Tooth.
Yes.
Did that sound official? That's not so lame. I need like some kind of auto tune or something.
Well, here.
Okay. Yeah.
That's lame.
That's all we get. We get a little party favorite. Sorry, Paresh. Okay.
There's not enough people clapping.
We need more people clapping.
Kids.
Okay, so before we get into the book, obviously we want to talk about the book today, but we got to ask. So, you guys are in the playoffs. And
Yeah,
we're not.
we just squeaked by.
How's the season been for those guys?
You know what? It's been two completely different tales. We just came out firing, and it was great. And I think, and then all of a sudden, the previous 2 months, we just started tanking, and we were number one in our conference like 2 months ago, and then we risked being the largest collapse in NHL history.
You almost went to the wild card.
Crazy.
Dive.
Yeah.
We just barely made it in, but I don't know.
Okay, I'm done hearing about the Jets now. Thanks.
Well, Paresh, the Canucks.
I'm just kidding, Paresh.
The Canucks couldn't even tank right this year.
They couldn't get the tank right either.
Yeah, let's rally at the end where it absolutely doesn't
Well,
matter. It's
I mean,
just
come on. Like, you're the coach. I've coached hockey for years and years, and
Yeah.
I feel for the coach, right? Everyone's like, oh, like you got to tank it, you got to throw the season, yada yada yada. But it's like their job. He's hired to win, right? You can't put out a coach to tank the season. His job is to rebuild and get them into a winning way. And
Yeah, absolutely.
for people to say tank the season, and Bedard is obviously a big sort of prize that everyone's looking at, and it's I feel for Talkie because he comes into it and people are like, well, tank the season. It's like, no, man, like I gotta rebuild and get these guys winning.
I
That's
guess
his
when
job.
it comes to the dressing room, that's a slippery slope to have that losing culture.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
We always got to be winning.
We're winners.
Okay, let's jump into your book, Paresh. So if we can put that back up on the screen there, that'll be fantastic.
Don't tell me what to do.
Okay, on your own time.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Beyond single tooth dentistry.
Right.
There it is. It's on. Oh, there.
Now it's like over your face.
Yeah.
Let's put it right over his face.
Like we said, it's early for us.
Okay, so tell us about the book. What was your inspiration to write this book, Paresh?
Well, man, you know what? I didn't have any necessarily. It wasn't on my radar when the opportunity was presented to me a few years ago. It was like, oh, okay. Like, what would I what would I share? What would I talk about? And but it's interesting because the topic, the title, and the way the content is set up, it's how I practice. It's what runs through my brain, and it's what excites me and wants me to continue practicing dentistry and mentor other dentists. I think that too many dentists are focused on just fixing teeth because that's what we are taught in school. We're taught to be technicians. We're taught to do fillings, to take teeth out, to put implants in, to straighten teeth, like just to do procedures. And there's a person attached to it. There's a complexity. There's the whole body. There's the whole oral system. And we want it to last. We want we want everything to last. And how do you go about doing it? And so it's for a lot of my lecturing, which I've been lecturing for probably 18, 19 years, but for probably the last 8 to 10 years, I've spent a lot of time talking to study clubs and at meetings about interdisciplinary dentistry and about comprehensive dentistry and about bringing in other disciplines to try and improve outcomes. And so this book gave me an opportunity to kind of express it and to show how I do it and how the people I work with, the specialists in the labs, how we collaborate. And that's kind of what it is. It's yeah.
Can you go back into, so there was a time in your career when you were a single tooth dentist, I would assume, coming out of school.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the genesis of that? Like tell me about the transition from a single tooth dentist and beyond. Sure. What was your transition?
And maybe go into sort of the downfalls of single unit dentistry too.
Sure. So when you get out of school, you learn how to fix teeth, and I don't care what anyone said. I really, when most schools that and students that I talk to who are in school or recent grads, the majority of the time, all they're doing is we're technicians. We're fixing teeth. We're repairing teeth. We're pulling teeth out. So you learn how to do some surgery. You learn how to place a filling or a crown or prep a tooth, but you're not fully taught how occlusion and function integrate and how material selection and prep design and why you want to use like plan and do wax ups all the time. Everyone does a little bit of that, but it's very piecemeal. And when you go to a lot of schools, everything's all fragmented. So you get out of school and you're practicing, and I'm practicing, and it's like, okay, well, I know how to do a root canal. Let's do this. Oh, we're supposed to do a crown on it because that's what they tell you to do. Mm-hmm. And so you prep the tooth and you do a crown. And so I was just doing all of that. And then what was happening, I bought a practice and I started taking over. It was about three to 4 years out of school. And I'm seeing these patients, and I'm seeing all sorts of complexities, and there are bites all over the place. And I didn't really know what to do because I knew how to fix teeth.
Right.
And it was like, all you'd go is like, okay, they're crooked, do orthodontics. Well, I'm 60. Why would I do it? And I go, I don't know. Like, okay, we'll accept it that way, and maybe I can do something. And it was getting to the point where I was feeling very bored and mundane. It was like, I'm just fixing teeth. That's all I'm doing.
There's got to be more to the game than this, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so I wasn't enjoying dentistry, and I didn't feel comfortable treating, or I didn't feel comfortable because I wasn't sure what to tell some of these patients. And when I reached out to different specialists in the city to ask for guidance, I was always getting, well, you just need to refer this. We need to be doing this. And it was like, seriously, like, how am I, like, I need a mentor, like, or mentors. It doesn't mean I want to do everything, but I want to learn. I want to understand the why behind all of this. Why do I have to just send it to oral surgery or peri or pros? Like, I'll get it if I understand, but how do we collaborate? And there was none of that in my circle. And then I got introduced to some people at the University of Minnesota and Buffalo, and it's a couple of prosthodontists, a bunch of restorative docs, and next thing you know, I'm getting exposed to all sorts of different types of dentistry where everyone's collaborative, and I'm like, holy crap. And they're all enjoying dentistry, and they enjoy life, and they're laughing, and they're doing great work, and they're taking all these extras, advanced CE. And I'm just like, oh my God, like there is something beyond
There's a whole new world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that just created this CE journey for me. And so as I'm coming back, I'm learning different things. I'm learning how the different disciplines can interconnect and how I can maybe improve outcomes. And that's where I started, by that time, it was 8 years out of school. And by that time, I'm like 10, 11 years out of school. And now I'm starting to have different conversations with patients. And that's kind of how that evolved. And then as I started getting more involved with lecturing and with the Seattle Study Club, which is an interdisciplinary kind of network of dentists and education, that's where I really started, ramping up, because all of a sudden, I'm interacting. I'm not only lecturing to, but I'm being lectured and doing treatment planning with not just restorative docs, but ortho, endo, perio, like all the different disciplines, oral surgery. And so all of a sudden your mind is being stretched looking at different perspectives.
Yeah. It would aid in helping you see, I think a single use unit dentistry, you're only looking at, a small fraction of what might be the underlying issues. So with Correct. All the this mindset, with all the disciplines, your broad perspective will help you handle function first and handle that foundation first, and then build to a new healthy occlusion.
Right. Well, yeah, a healthy, like the whole system. So, I always have this conversation with friends, colleagues, doctors. I feel a lot of our medical system, at least here in Manitoba, is a little more reactionary.
Sure,
as opposed
100%.
to being proactive.
Yeah. Same here.
And I find that very frustrating, because all of a sudden, well, no, you're okay. Like, your blockage is only at 60%, and for your age, we don't really need to do anything. Well, meanwhile, gets to 80% and you end up in the hospital with a heart attack, and then it's like, okay, let's do that bypass when we could have done something before.
We got a real case on our hands. Yeah,
it's the same thing. Like when why are we watching why are we watching fillings break down, or people having some problems, just sticking a night guard in, but not really understanding the underlying cause, rather than just giving them a Band-Aid. And so a lot of this is related to, okay, well, let's ask why. Like, why? It's exactly what you brought up, Mark. Like, why is the system not working? When I say the system, the whole system, like function, aesthetics, speech, wear, everything. Like, why is it not working? Are the teeth out of alignment? Is there something periodontally that's not stable? Are there iatrogenic things, that bad habits that people have? Was it because some teeth were pulled out and they were never replaced, and everything's drifted, and now we got a problem? So just taking a pause and looking at the whole system and going, well, why did we get here? How do we stabilize it? And how do we, if we can't go backwards, what can we do now to get it stable, get it comfortable, and then give you the function and the aesthetics that you're looking for, so that it's going to last? Because if something is worn out, and I just go, okay, well, we were told we put a crown in that area, it's going to be stronger, and you stick it in that system that doesn't work, well, we know from studies that eventually it'll fail, or something else is going to break.
The other tooth might break or something, right?
Or do we want to correct that and improve that? Now, whether a patient wants to go through that path or not, that's another story. But I do believe it's an obligation that we have to address it, explain it to the patient, and let them make an informed choice if they want to do a Band-Aid approach or a more comprehensive approach.
I think reactive intervention could also make things worse. Like in terms of throwing a night guard in, having that skating rink in the mouth at night, and you got an issue with, airway that's closing up, that might, make it more complicated for somebody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whatever, all of those things. So, part of what has, really inspired and motivated me was to be like, look, I want the patients to understand that we're not just fixing teeth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong. I'd say if you ask me, like, what percentage of my practice is doing just everyday, daily dentistry, fixing teeth, restoring teeth, it's a large chunk. It's at least
Mm-hmm.
75%.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Still do lots of fillings and other things and single crowns, but I'm when I see a patient, when I talk to a patient, I am always looking at all the systems and I'm addressing it. I'm bringing awareness of, like, listen, you've got some wear, you've got some problems here, you got some, and there may be a bigger issue,
Mm-hmm.
and we might want to consider a periodontal consult. We might want to consider an orthodontic consult or an endodontic consult. Now, whether they want to or not, that's another story. But I'm bringing up all of those things. Um, and it's important because sometimes it's sometimes it doesn't resonate with the patient, but it might later when something happens. Oh man, now I understand why you
Yeah.
said maybe I should have seen the orthodontist to have that tooth brought up, because now my bite's changing and I'm getting food stuck everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, and that's why I wanted you to hold that space or restore it like 10 years ago. And
Right.
I know you didn't see the value of it, and you do now. Let's figure it out.
There's this meme floating around out there where it shows like a progression over time, where there's like dollar signs in the beginning. There's the one
Yeah,
dollar sign,
yeah,
and by the time
yeah,
you get to the sixth slide, there's
yeah.
like a bunch of money bags, and
Yeah.
the mouth is falling apart.
Oh, that's
So
true. So
yeah,
I think what's happened is a lot of people don't know where to start. They don't know how to start. And like, I've done all of the COIS program. John has had a huge influence. In fact, with permission, I have a couple of his forms in my with all of my checklists and stuff in my book.
We should see if we can get him
And
on the show.
but the thing is, like, I've also done some spear and other things, but a lot of times people will go through some of these programs, and they're like, well, I still don't know how to implement. I don't know what to do,
sure.
how to put everything together. And so the book's done not to replace any of these things. It's an adjunct. I still highly recommend that you have mentors. You join a really good study club like the Seattle Study Club in your area, because it teaches you and inspires you to work collaboratively. That to go through a continuum like COIS, or Spear or something like that, or I went, like I said, I went through COIS, and I loved the whole program. But but like, how do you go about gathering records, and then why are those records important, and what do you do with them when you've put them together, in terms of putting a diagnosis together and a treatment plan together. And that's what I've done in the book. Is I've put in, um, well, what the records are, why you might want to use them, and some people might have different ones, but it's pretty comprehensive, and it's pretty simple to put it together. And then how do you kind of formulate, like, my thought process of how I put together a treatment plan, looking at perio, looking at aesthetics, looking at function, looking at medical history, looking at TMJ, and not teaching all of those things, but being aware of it. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you have this initial treatment plan and initial diagnosis, how do you collaborate? What do you communicate with an endodontist or with a periodontist or with an orthodontist? Like, how do you actually do that communication? And so
Mm-hmm.
what I've done is I have various chapters where I put cases in there, and I've had cases with the orthodontist, and I said, okay, well, this is how we ended up treating it. This is how I communicated with the orthodontist. This is what the orthodontist communicated back. And this is how we went and treated the case. Now, you two may treat it slightly different. That's okay, as long as we get the diagnosis the same. But
Mm-hmm.
it gives tangible examples, clinical examples, of how to communicate. What do I need to ask the orthodontist to be able to put the tooth and the occlusion in a particular way that I can minimally or no prep a tooth?
Right.
That's to that much detail. And my and having the orthodontist being engaged to the point is like, look, I want to understand what you're going to do restoratively. If I can make your life and the patient's life easier, and maybe you don't have to prep the teeth, I'll do it for you. Now, not all specialists will do that, and not all GPs will take the time to do that.
Right.
But that's the detail. Even with the endodontist, how do I communicate? How do I talk to them and say, look, what do you need from me besides just do the root canal? Well, hey, I need to know that, are you going to be able to restore the tooth? What are you going to put on the tooth? Is it restorable at all? Don't just send it to me. I can do a root canal on anything. But if you can't fix it, what's the point of wasting the patient's time and money?
Yeah.
So, like, how do you communicate? How do you go back and forth? Why is it important? And all of those things, it just makes for a better patient care. And I just have so much fun with my specialist because we collaborate on such a high level, and it's easy for us now.
Yeah. And you have all the technology to communicate on every level, right? So with scanners and mills
CBCTs.
And printers. Yeah.
I just think I think about it like this: like to put the space shuttle on the moon, you need the rocket scientists, you need the aeronautics guy, you need all of these people, and getting the space shuttle to the moon is the patient outcome, right? Having all the disciplines influence patient outcome. Moving teeth around, that's orthodontics. Like having all of those minds working together, that's the way it should be.
Do you use like a centralized software that, like, if you bring a DICOM file in and you can bring an STL file in, do you sort of have like a hub that you can send files out from?
I do. DTX, that's what I'm using.
DTX.
Okay.
And so for me, and there's other ones that are out there, right? But I use DTX Studio, and it's been great because what happens is we're capturing all our data there, and then it's secure. Like all of it, we can send all our data encrypted and securely, and you can even anonymize the patient's name. So if I want to send CBCT, if I want to send STL files, X-rays, if I want to send a document as well, I can do that.
Right. And I've heard really good things about DTX.
Send it through an email, and the other person on the other end, if they have DTX, they can open it up in their studio. If they don't have it, like Tim, my orthodontist, he's got Dolphin and all that, but he can download the CBCT and other stuff, and then open it up in his software.
Right.
So,
So you really don't have any. There's no roadblocks when it comes to digital communication of files. You're pretty much open source.
So much easier. I would say if 5 years ago it was still a challenge trying to do that, and how do you get a viewer, and do you have a viewer? Can you open it up? It's just most of the companies now. If you send a CBCT, let's say, I'm just saying that because it's probably more complex than all the others. STL files are easy,
right?
But if you send with a CBCT, now as long as you've got a viewer on the other end of some sort, and a lot of people do now, right? You can open it, import it in there, and you may not be able to manipulate it as well as from the software that generated it, but it's enough to be able to see.
Paresh, from a diagnostic standpoint, what tech are you implementing in your practice? Like like tech scan or like CBCT? Like I would imagine as you take patient in. Go ahead.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, I just think like with this sort of this philosophy, diagnostic would be pretty huge. Like that starts the communication.
Right. Everything except the tech scan. I've used it. I think it's great.
TENS?
I'm not sure why I haven't got it involved more, but so I've got CBCT. I have several scanners. I've got model printers. I've got a mill. I've got a furnace. I've got all of it. So the way we collaborate, I'll collect the information. I'll do my exam. I will. I'll take photographs, video. If I need a CBCT, I'll take it. I'll take radiographs. Then I will put together a treatment plan, and I will plan it. If it's something fairly straightforward and I have the time, I'll import the information into ExoCAD, restorative design software, and I will create a digital wax up. Okay. And if I don't have time, I'll send it to my lab and I'll talk to the lab and they will do a diagnostic wax up. From there, I can share that information with my patient. We can discuss treatment. Then I send all of that information to my specialists, whoever I feel need to be involved in the treatment for at least consultations and so forth. So now they will have not only the records that I have, but they will have a proposed restorative treatment plan. Okay. From there, now I start getting their input. It's like, okay, well, we can do this, but the periodontist is like, well, I'm not, or the oral surgeon or whatever. They'll like, oh, I don't think this is realistic. This is going to be a challenge. We might have to do some grafting here. The orthodontist might say, okay, fair enough, but I can move this tooth. We may not need, and all of a sudden you start having that communication and dialogue.
Yeah, you're QBing it in a sense, right?
Right. And I tend to lead that because I believe that the restorative docs should be doing that. However, there are some restorative docs that are not comfortable doing that. Sure. So you have to find a specialist that is, but I feel it's really imperative to have a specialist that really understands restorative and doesn't just look at their one discipline, but understands and asks the right questions. The same thing as we need to also understand that and appreciate the benefits of all the different specialties in the lab.
And is that the track that the book is going down? Is to really
absolutely.
Kind of cultivate that with the GP, the restorative dentist, to say, you need to be the quarterback. Excuse me. You need to be the quarterback in this, and really kind of follow the same discipline that you're doing.
Right, and work with specialists that are open to that, and also be very open to having the treatment plan, like other suggestions from specialists, based on their experience, based on their comfort level, all of those things. Because maybe there is a procedure that's great, and you see it on Instagram, but perhaps that oral surgeon has never done that procedure,
right?
And they may have another option that is viable, and you want to do it. It's the same thing for restorative. So I think it has to be, that interdisciplinary has to go back and forth. And it's the same thing with the lab. Like, there are ceramists that are more comfortable using some materials than others to create an outcome.
Right, 100%.
And so sitting down and talking to them and go, well, this is what I was thinking. This is the result we're going with. And they're like, okay, I think I can accomplish it better with this material. And let's talk about it. Let's figure that out.
Reverse engineering the case.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you need from me? Do you need me to alter my preparations or do them in a certain way so that we do that?
Right.
And so sometimes what I'm doing, I'm rambling here, but like,
no, you're not at all. Yeah.
My lab is in another city, and sometimes I'll go, listen, I just finished my preps. Do you have time if I just quickly send you the scan? Can you look at it and let me know if you want any alterations before the patient leaves? Sometimes I'll do that. And
the communication now is instantaneous. It's pretty awesome to look at a STL, like a second after you've taken the scan. It's pretty cool. Well,
that's kind of why I want to talk about the sort of centralized software hub, because I think that's become a really powerful tool in the last 5 to 10 years to be able to have that
as a communication
centralized
tool,
communication. And there's GTX, there's Romexis, there's all these different softwares now. I mean, even back in the days when I was selling dental wings, I mean, they had their own co-diagnostics was good too. It's still good. It's fantastic software. So for me, that's such an essential part of what you're doing, in my opinion, where it's like, hey, you know what? I have all the information everybody needs. And it really, like you say, it allows the restorative dentist to be the quarterback and control the information.
And how long did it take you to build your network too? Like your network of folks that...
Interesting, because my buddy Tim and I run a Seattle study club here. We've been running it for like 18 years. And Tim and I have been working this way he's an orthodontist for a long time. And it was very challenging to get some of our study club members, GPs and specialists, to get on and even work with Zoom.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
It was like, because everyone's all scared about it. And what would happen is I would take discs, I would send all the information to him. He would quarterback it from his office, set up Zoom calls, and he would have all the records, and he'd just put them all up, right? And so now COVID hits, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, we got Zoom." It's like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that from so many of your friends and clients out there.
Oh,
It's
man.
Yeah.
The world changed.
Well, we're all reactive, right? And it
See,
forced
that's
us.
funny.
It forced us.
Oh, well, we got Zoom. No, we've had Zoom. Tell you for like 5 years, but you want to use it.
Yeah.
Now everybody's forced into listening to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So whether it's Zoom, Teams, or whatever platform you have, so we've been nurturing that for a while, and it finally just really came to fruition over the last 3 years because of that. Right. And it's been great. So I actually have a lecture on this, and I'm doing it in 2 weeks for in New Jersey, and it's basically just talking about, like, it's actually a cone beam symposium, but I said, look, I'm not a specialist at this, but this is what I've got, is about putting the records together, and how do you collaborate using a digital platform, and so I'm going to do it by showing different cases that I'm doing with endo, with ortho, with oral surgery, with perio. But the underlying theme is that we're collaborating because we're sharing the data securely. And it's okay that I have one platform and Tyler has a different platform and Mark has a different platform behind the scenes in your offices, but we're sharing real data and we're collaborating with that real data. So here's an example. And I have this in my lecture, but
this is so cool.
I'm doing dentistry, and then all of a sudden I get this email, and it pops up, and it's a link to a video from my orthodontist. And I didn't have time, and I open up the video at the end of the day, and Tim's talking to me, and he's got STL files, and he's got his software, and he has like a 2-minute video, and he says, Paresh, I wanted to call you about patient so-and-so. I understand you couldn't answer the call because you were with a patient. So here is what I've been thinking. And he shows everything and what he's planning with the orthodontic movements. And then he goes, my question to you is, I'm concerned about this tooth and the anatomy and the positions. What would you like to do? Let me know. So I didn't even have to disrupt my flow. And so what I did was I fired him an email back. And I said, thank you for that. I'm not worried about the anatomy. You go ahead and do that plan that you're doing. But could you, because the anatomy is a little funky on that tooth, can you send the CBCT to our endodontist, Dr. Cunha, and ask him to comment back to us if there's an endodontic issue that we have to be worried about? So all of a sudden, a day later, we get this reply, and it's like, no, I've looked at it. I looked at the CBCT. No endodontic concerns. Go ahead with your ortho and your restorative.
Awesome.
Like, talk about speeding up the process.
We didn't have to leave our patients. We had real-time data. We were communicating about restorative, about ortho, about endo. Like, we actually communicated, each of us, about the other disciplines.
What are you using for that? There's a great software called Loom where you can do like is that where you're using?
I've used that. No, so I don't know what Tim uses for his video. Again, it's a secure one. He's got something in there. I don't know. It could be Loom. When he sent that, I did not. So it just came as a video link. No other data in there.
Right.
So when I sent that reply back, I just replied back at an email, but I didn't put any data in there. I didn't put an X-ray. I just did that.
So if the viewers are wondering, it's you can essentially do a screenshot with a video and describe things live as you're going through it. It's a great communications tool.
But 100%.
There's a secure
Paresh, I just want to go back to the workflow you described. So how would that workflow look 10 years ago?
Yeah. And how long would it take?
How much has that changed?
Yeah. Like, does our audience even know what a floppy disk is? honestly, what it would do is we didn't even have those jump drives that would be large enough. So we would burn a disc and we'd courier or drive over a CT scan. We didn't even have CT scans. So back in Winnipeg, we didn't have CT scans like 10, 12 years ago. So we'd have x-rays.
We got dial-up going here, Paresh. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's our dial-up reference.
I'm just throwing you right off. Yeah,
it's our dial-up sound effect.
It was the old school internet dial-up. Yeah. What's happening?
Do you remember getting on the internet back in 1994?
Yes.
There you go. That's the sound.
Can I say that? I didn't see the SBI just quit on dial-up only a few years ago. It was like everyone had dial-up 5 years ago. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Or CDA net, sorry. No, so how would we communicate? Everything would be, you'd have to copy a panoramic, you have to copy this, you'd have to have casts, and you'd have diagnostic wax-ups, and you'd have to take the articulator over or bring the specialists over, or you would, I don't know. I mean, or we just guessed. We just winged it. We would write everything, and we would wing it. And each person would just do their own thing.
But and you would take, it's a process of like a couple of days or even a week of trying to communicate this case down to minutes, right?
Instantly almost.
And the convenience of your home. So I had, it was during COVID in 2020, and then in the summer I had my knee replaced. And so I was home for a month, and we had a case that we needed to discuss. So I had my foot raised up. I'm sitting in, our kitchen area, and the orthodontist, like Tim, sets up a call. And he says, hey, we got to discuss this case because we're right in the middle and going to end up having orthodontic surgery. I'm like, okay. And so all of a sudden we pop up on the screen. He's got all the records, and we had our oral surgeon there. We had our endodontist and him and I. And then they all had questions for me. What is your restorative plan? What are you going to do after? And I'm like, okay, these are the things. This is what I discussed with the patient. So now they said, hey, is this tooth, when we do the surgery, what are you going to do as an endodontist? He goes, I'll come to the OR. We'll extract the tooth. I'll do the root canal, and we'll transplant it, because it was a transplant case of teeth. And the surgeon's like, okay, no problem. We'll do this. I mean, how cool was that?
It's amazing.
A coffee, and I was just sitting with my leg up, and and everyone else was home.
You're treatment planning the case, yeah.
But the cool part of it, just to your point, Tyler, is we had the real data. Mm-hmm. We weren't guessing.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at we weren't looking at screenshots. We had the CT scan, we had the digital models, and we had the photographs.
Yeah, in real time.
Right.
What a time to be alive for, technology, I tell you.
And that's cool. Kind of why I want to touch on that, because we were diving into sort of how you went from single tooth to obviously multidisciplinary and really sort of spreading your wings. And then, here we are, 20 years later, and now technology walks through the door and goes, hey, all that stuff you're trying to do, let me now, technology is finally caught up with it seems like technology is finally caught up with what you want to do.
I think we're catching up to it. I think we're catching up to technology.
I disagree. I think technology is finally caught up with what someone like Dr. Shah is trying to do.
However, I think it's been around.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
That's the point I was trying to make.
I think we've been slow to adopt it.
Got it.
Yes.
If you look at medicine, they've been doing this stuff for a long time. I remember visiting a friend of mine in Southern California, in San Diego, like almost 20 years ago, and his brother-in-law is a medical radiologist, and we're at their house, and he's got this big computer set up, and he's got his residents at the hospital, and he's having his residents sending him MRIs and CT scans. Mm-hmm. And he's looking at it, and he's talking to the residents. Yeah, I see this, I see that, and it's like, man, why aren't we doing this in dentistry?
Right.
This is ridiculous.
So I think the technology was always there. I think it's only been the last 5 to 8 years where everything's become open architecture, and I think that's kind of the biggest difference. Right. And that's where I think we're sort of having that.
Correct in that. Yeah. Yes.
And I think in terms of a technology standpoint or a communication standpoint too, I think that if COVID gave us a gift, it was to enhance our communication more virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you both said it absolutely correct. I think all three of us are saying the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And your comment about open architecture is 100% correct. I think that the stuff was there. I think there were too many roadblocks.
Right.
Because everything was closed. I don't care what the dental companies tell you. 7 years ago, all those scanners and CBC and everything were closed.
Yep.
Or semi-closed.
Absolutely.
And
some of them still are.
No, you're not, because you're an open system within your company.
Yeah.
But I can't open it in this software.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know what I like about it, Paresh, is that once open architecture, I would say it became a big thing in 2014, 2015. Or it really started to catch fire at that point. And for me, I think what it did is it really forced everyone to be honest about their software and say, you know what, here are the real capabilities of what we can do. It was great. And I think it really sort of made dentistry better from a technology perspective to say, yeah, you know what, everything does need to go open architecture. And, you know, for real, now we can't really hide in the shadows, right? And I'm not saying any company was doing that. I'm just saying that, you know, they're like, for example, I'm not going to name any names, but there might be like a CAD CAM system that's really good at scanning, but it might not be good at milling, or it might be really good at milling and not quite as good at scanning. But so when it's a closed system, it's like, well, yeah, it's got its pros and cons. It's good at this. It's not that good at that. When you go open architecture, now you're bringing peripheries in at will.
Yeah.
And having that centralized sort of software like the DTX that you use, where you can now pick and choose the best technology to bring into that software.
And I think too, like there's too many pieces now. And if you're not open architecture, you're not going to be able to play in the game. Like you got to be able to talk to everybody, because you're going to single yourself out.
Yeah. Everyone's going that way.
Yeah.
Another question. Okay. So all this great stuff's happened. Now what's the result for your practice, for your business, from a production standpoint, having this discipline, having this philosophy?
Nothing. It's just we're living it. That's all we're doing. It's
sleeping and breathing it.
Yeah,
we are. The entire team is. So I actually have a chapter on my entire team and how everything's, you know, how the assistants and the admin and the hygienists are all. It's been great, and
everybody's into it, right?
Yeah.
So you're in your practice right now, Revive Dental in Winnipeg. Yeah. You've recently gone through, I know you have basically a brand new office there. Tell us how it's been in the last year or so. I guess it's been
2 years, and it's been unbelievable. I just love what I do.
Did you build your dream practice? Is it everything you wanted it to be?
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
this has been fantastic.
We can keep you all day if you want to hang out. You want to hang out
He's
all day?
Probably got some dentistry to do.
He's got some other frosty glass to get to. You know?
Paresh, it's been so great having you yet again. You're just a wealth of information. We just love having you on the show.
Yeah, I would love to be back, and we can chat about all that technology stuff, because that's pretty cool.
We can jam on technology.
Well,
for a while,
when I finally get the book, Paresh, let's have you back on. I'm very excited to
read it, and you can give us a quiz on your book.
Yeah. For folks out there that want to get their hands on this book, how can they do so?
If you go to Edra Publishing, it is on Amazon, but if you go to Edra Publishing, there is a link, and I can send you the link as well. There's a Canadian one and a US one, and it's probably the best way.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. We'll make sure to put that in the description if you can send that to me right away, sir, and I'll do that.
Great having you on, and I'm going to hesitantly say "Go Jets." It pains me to say it.
Oh, we can
do that. Guys. I really appreciate it. Wish I could talk longer.
We can support everybody except for the boys in blue, right?
Have a great day, Paresh.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks.